I'm Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner Podcast. In this episode, I talk with Joel Peed and Joel Nagel, co-planners of the 2023 Climb Conference. Listen as we talk about what to look forward to at this year's conference. All this and more on the Rob Skinner Podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner Podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. I started this podcast at the beginning of the COVID pandemic in an effort to inspire people to multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. I wanted to learn from others and share what I've learned over the years. God has enabled me and my wife Pam to plant churches in Portland, Oregon, Anchorage, Alaska, Ashland, Oregon, Tucson, Arizona, and most recently, Flagstaff, Arizona. My dream is to plant at least 5 more churches by the year 2030. Your financial support, your donation will help me to turn that dream into reality. Your tax-deductible gift will be given to get those churches off the ground. Please give today at TucsonChurchofChrist.org. Look for the donation tab, and then select the general fund when you give. Thank you so much. Joel and Joel, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Rob. Thanks for having us.
Great to be here, Rob.
I mean, we had a great time in Dallas recently, a couple weeks ago, planning out the conference. How do you guys feel like it went?
I thought it was so good. I think one of the foundational things for a great conference is for the organizers to be united and close, and that is certainly what we were able to achieve by just spending hours and hours together, staying with one another, eating with one another. It felt like just three disciples hanging out and dreaming for the kingdom of God.
Yeah, I think what really makes this team special is that we're so different, but we really respect each other. And when we come together, it really feels like there's a well-rounded, holistic type approach to walking with God, leading the ministry, building the church, etc. So
Joel Pete, you called me probably 2018, 2019, and asked me if I wanted to join you in planning this conference. How'd you even come up with the original idea for a small church leadership conference?
Well, I think during that time, actually, there was, I had to do a lot of wrestling personally with our future, and we were getting asked to go different places. And as I went to the woods, like I like to do, and listening for God's call instead of just the crying out needs, God really, I felt, put it on my heart to stay in the small church, to build it up, but to inspire other church plantings in smaller towns and inspire other small church leaders. So over 70% of our fellowship is under 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I love our big church conferences, and they're inspirational, they're phenomenal, but it's a different animal in a lot of ways, a lot of ways, in leading a small church. And so I felt like this could be a place where our small church leaders could come and feel valued, important, not, JV type leaders.
Right.
Really get their needs met. So that's what led to the call to you, because I knew you had done something similar, planting a church in a small town. And, God has multiplied it.
Joel Nagel, how did you get involved?
I think that first year you guys needed some help.
Obviously.
I like to create things and really just bring creativity and collaboration to the things that I do in the ministry. And so it seemed like a great fit to come in and start to help out that first year, and then to to now work with you guys for the last few years to make the conference great. It really is a great team. We say it all the time, but when there's two Joels and a Rob, you can't go wrong.
I mean, I remember that first year you helped me get my first book published and self-published, Joel Nagel, and that was awesome. I mean, you are so good at that technical stuff, books, material, pamphlets. I mean, you are just like a one-man printing shop. It's crazy the stuff that you produce to make ministers' lives easier. So, well, when is the conference? For a person listening, when is this conference this year?
This conference is going to be Thursday, November 30th. That evening, it will kick off with an incredible first night, and it's going to go through Sunday morning, December 3rd.
Okay. And Joel, Pete, where's it going to be held at?
We're going to go back to Dallas again. We had such a great time there in 2021. We're going back to Dallas to the same hotel and conference center.
Okay. Why are you going back to Dallas? Like what's the magic there?
Well, our first one was really fun in Eau Claire, in it being a smaller town. But it was, difficult to get here. And so we felt like the next one to do it in a bigger hub, easy to get to. And in December, it's a lot easier to go to Dallas than to come up to Wisconsin. So, and we're really thankful for Dallas. Todd Assad and now Mark Mancini have really, really supported us, and even all the churches in Texas have really, really been a great support in giving their hearts to this conference. So yeah, and when they help us financially, we're gonna have a hard time turning that down.
That's right. That's right.
Small church. We need money.
Well, it's been great too because they've offered administrative help, and so Nancy Bartlow has helped us with the administration, the registration, and that's been great. Well, let's talk a little bit about who's speaking, who's going to be there. I think everyone wants to know who is it who's going to be preaching and teaching. Who are you guys excited about listening to this year?
I'm excited about the different kinds of speakers that we have, and so one kind of speaker is just the brothers who can come and inspire us, and we need inspiration. And so I'm thinking about Sean Wooten. He's going to come over from Eastern Europe, and Kevin Miller is going to come, and I think I've heard of this guy Rob Skinner, who's going to be speaking on the inspirational side of things. Those are some of the speakers I'm really excited about.
Yeah, for me, I'm especially excited about I'm really excited about the 4 kind of different categories of lessons that we're doing.
Okay, talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I think they really meet the needs of the small church leader. We need to, like Joel said, to be inspired. So the evening sessions are just going to be, inspirational. But we need more than inspiration. We need to be healthy ourselves. We need to, leading a small church can tap you out something fierce and quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My first wrestling with burnout was when I was 2 years into the ministry. So to take time to take care of our leaders, their marriages, their families, their mental health, their emotional health, their own spiritual walk with God. So that's a category. But then you can't just be healthy and inspired. You got to have tools, practical tools, and how to grow, how the church grows. Practical helps. But then a category I think we're adding this year that I'm super excited about is we face bottlenecks. A small church always has a lot of needs and limited resources. So we're left with bottlenecks. And so solutions to those bottlenecks, as well as kind of bottlenecks / hot button issues, are we just don't have the teacher right on hand that can come and address a women's role discussion or debate or even division. We don't have so in other words, there's hot button issues that our fellowship is discussing that we want to talk straightforward at our conference about how do we process these things? Not the answers, but how do we have good discussions, good talks about how to process these things at a local level?
Yeah, I think that's going to be fantastic. And Joel Nagel, this is really kind of your brainchild, this whole idea of, dealing with problems in the ministry. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that we want to help churches grow. There are a lot of approaches for that, but that's the whole purpose of this. And it could be that there's just one thing missing. It might not be a big, complicated thing that needs to change, but there could just be one bottleneck, one conversation, one thing you hear at the conference that could change everything from your church and start to get it growing again. And so I think it's it's a very personalized way of meeting the needs of the small church leaders and anybody else who's there to learn about church growth.
Right. I thought that was a brilliant idea. And in talking to small church leaders and leaders around, I was talking to someone this morning. He's like, people in our family of churches are really burnt out. It's like what you mentioned, Joel P. They're tired, they're burnt out, they're lagging, coming out of three years of a pandemic. It just marks, I think March 20th marks about 3 years of the pandemic starting, and we're still recovering from the after effects of that. And not just that, but the social change, social issues, political issues that we've just been hammered on, people being isolated and separated. And I think it's such a fantastic opportunity to have classes on what do you do with these situations? How do you get fired up again? How do you handle problems or conflict in the church, division in the church? How do you get people to come back to church? How do you get out of a spiritual funk? How do you get fired up? I mean, all these things are super important, and I think people are looking for practicals, like, what do I do? It may not be the perfect answer, but it could be an answer to help people to get strong again. Going back to the subject of speakers, I know that Dave Pachta is teaching, and what's he going to be teaching on, Joel?
Well, there's a lot of things he can teach on. He's an incredible teacher. But I think one of the things that he's really been striking a chord with recently is just this talk about, a big thing in our world today is deconstruction. And I think in the larger churches, there might be, more help for people who stumble across that idea and start to go down that road. But in the smaller churches, we don't have as many resources, but Dave's got an incredible lesson, and I'm not exactly sure. It's 6 months from now. We'll see, what the greatest need is, but he has an incredible lesson about being in the wilderness and seeing deconstruction through the eyes of Scripture and making it through that with our faith intact.
Right.
And I think that if he does that, it'd be worth the conference just to come and learn how to help people when they have those dark nights of the soul that we all face from time to time.
Exactly. And I know that Tony Singh is coming from Ottawa, Canada. Hopefully his wife also will come.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, he's done an amazing job. He's one of the guys. There's a few guys or couples in our fellowship who led large churches and then went and led smaller churches. And I think Joel used that term. I think in our heads we think of like the varsity and the junior varsity. But if you talk to anybody who's led a large church and then gone to a smaller church, there's nothing JV about it.
There's nothing JV about it.
And I think Tony's story and his experience will be so valuable for us to hear, and really encouraging, but also challenging, because he's done a great job. And there's a lot that we can learn from him. Exactly.
He's really grown his church well there. And especially because he came back into the ministry in his 50s after working a secular job for a long time. And the church has done well, and the church had been there a long time. So we really tried to find people that were growing their small church, and he's certainly one of them. I'm really excited about Kevin Miller. I mean, he is far from a small church leader. He's a massive church leader, a couple thousand in Boston. But I think what we came up with is we need people that can inspire us, that can really call us back to hardline, deep convictions. And he's a very passionate person. And so I'm excited because we're not limited. We don't have to limit ourselves to small church leaders. Most of our speakers are leading a small church, but it's awesome to have people that are going to meet the need of the moment. It was great at our first conference. We had A.T. Arneson preach. He did a fantastic job. And last time we had Todd Assad. So it's good to have a different voice in there. I think another thing, we've got Darren Overstreet coming. He's going to be talking about dealing with progressive theology and just kind of the shifting tides of theology. And that'll go hand in glove with the concept of deconstruction. Robert Carrillo, anything you want to say about him, Joel?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about a few. So, I really think that just spiritual formation, spirituality, how the Spirit, whether you lead a small church or you're a disciple in a small church or you lead a massive, because we really want to invite leaders who are in larger churches but are leading a sector or a region. They will get a great deal out of these things. But we all want to be spiritual. We all need to be filled. The first thing it says about Jesus is that he was filled with the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came back from the wilderness, it says he was in the power of the Spirit. And so I think one of the most important things we need to be thinking about as leaders is, are we spiritual? Are we filled with the Spirit? Are we led by the Spirit? And so spiritual formation, spirituality is something that our fellowship has tended to marginalize, I think, in a lot of reaction to the Pentecostals and the that sort of thing. And I think we're really being humbled about, we can't do this on human strength.
Right.
We can't do this on human wisdom, human methods. And the Spirit has to fill us and lead us. And so Robert Carrillo is going to be coming to teach on that. Jeannie Shaw is getting her PhD right now. Both of them are getting their PhDs in some sort of spiritual formation discipline. My own wife has gone back to school to get her master's in spiritual formation. So these people are going to be speaking, and I think really helping us focus on our own spiritual growth first. And then from that, there's a wellspring of things we're able to give to our churches.
That's great.
Jeannie Shaw and Robert Carrillo. And I think Dave Pacta too is really working hard to build teaching ministries in our churches that are really helpful in building up the disciples. And so I just see a lot of maturing happen in our fellowship with deeper teaching that's really helpful in building up the churches, deeper spirituality, a maturing of leadership. And so I think this conference, honestly, is on the front edge of a lot of what we are learning and wanting to grow in our fellowship. So I'm just really proud of it and proud of what we are offering. And I think it is well worth the investment to get down to Dallas and to invest into this time of your own leadership. And I mean, the fellowship alone is worth it.
I know, that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's so much, and we didn't even mention Dave Bliley is going to be coming up from New Zealand, and they've done an amazing job down there, down under, and I mean, that's going to be awesome. So we have a powerful lineup. You guys are both going to be teaching classes, and that just goes without saying. They're going to be fantastic. You blew it out last time and the time before. Let's talk about who should go to this conference. Okay, is it only for small church leaders?
I can speak to that. I think that let's start with who shouldn't go to this conference. A.T. Arneson.
Wow.
Anybody who's leading a church of 2,000 or more. But if you have anything less than that, this is a conference for you. I think if the big churches, I think that this is, as far as I know, the only conference we do that's specifically focused on growth.
Right.
And again, it's not just ministry growth. It is focused on that, but also ministers' health and growing in a healthy way, and wellness. And so if you have a ministry center or a region or a zone or a sector or whatever you call it, and you want that group to be encouraged and to grow and to learn, this is the place to send them. We've got a bigger room this year. We made room for more leaders to come and learn how to climb with us.
It's worth noting that every year we've doubled
Yep.
in attendance. And I think we could double or more because the people have gotten a taste and they're just, Orlando was like, when's the next one? When's the next one?
Right.
I think, but what I would say is don't just come yourself as a small leader, small church leader. Bring your core group, bring your eldership. If there's a specific ministry that needs strengthening, singles, campus, YoPros, bring your non-staff YoPro leaders. It's such a great way to generate ideas of faith, energy.
That's
It's
right.
a great time of year. It's right at the crunch time of planning for 2024 because it's at the end of 2023. And so you can really, propel into next year with a lot of ideas, energy, momentum, teamwork. Right. So bring your group. It's just not that expensive. So, I mean, it's
right. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's so worth it. I mean, there's going to be a discount in the hotel fees. It's right now we have a discounted rate of $125 until April 15th. So it's certainly within reach of the small church. But I agree. I feel like it's more like a what I would consider like a evangelistic conference, like a evangelism seminar. It's a call to start growing personally, and then get your church growing, and then we're going to tackle. I love it's a multifaceted. Get yourself doing better spiritually. Figure out tools to help your church grow, and then also solve problems. We're going to give you tips on how to solve common problems that are facing our churches across the board. I mean, we're facing a lot. We're going to just head on, just go after it. So that'll be awesome. Joel Nagel, what's the theme of the conference? What's going to be the theme that we're going to be drawing from?
We were together in Dallas. It was such a good time, but we were struck by 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and 5, and just talking about not losing heart. And I think there's two sides to that. There's the perseverance side, but there's also, we don't lose heart because we want to keep growing and going and climbing. And so there are a lot of passages there that really, I think, struck us, and we're going to look through that text at the conference and use it to craft the lessons and the titles and all of that.
Okay. Yeah, not losing heart in the ministry is just so, I mean, there's times, I'll just be honest, doing this 30 years, there's times where I'm like, I'm done. I've had enough. Can't do this anymore. I can't take it.
Right.
And it's just on the verge of losing heart.
Right.
And I think that's Paul's appeal is, hey, I know times are tough, but it's tough on purpose to get us to rely on God.
That's right.
And so you can come to a time like this. This is not a competition. You don't have to come with, you just come as you are. Come vulnerable.
That's
come
right.
Hurting. Come weak. And this is a time where you'll leave with hope. Yep. You'll leave with heart.
Love that. So absolutely love that. If there's one thing that you're excited about this year's conference, what is it?
I'm excited about having my friends Jeannie Shaw and Robert Carrillo and Dave Pock to come and speak, because we've worked hard on a lot of kind of committees and subcommittees and different things together. And they've just been able, like Robert Carrillo, we're doing a spirituality webinar, and it's had into the thousands of people across the world sign up and participate. And what that means is there's a thirst. And so I feel like the Spirit is guiding us, and the Spirit is, we're following the Spirit to meet the needs, to address the needs of real-time leadership in our fellowship right now.
That's great. Yeah, I think along the same lines, I'm really excited I think that we do better when we do things together. And I love collaborating. And from the last few Climb conferences, we've had more and more small church leaders not being so lonely, but working together to create sermon series and resources together to disciple one another using technology or however we can do that. And there are big plans for this year, and there'll be announcements that come out as we get closer to the conference. But even more than last time, you don't need to plan 2024. You don't need to have a preaching plan. Don't even think about it. Forget about it, because you'll have some of the most incredible opportunities to preach with people who are in similar situations, to learn from them, to operate like you have a staff, and to preach, really to blow your church away with the professionalism and your own growth as you preach with other people. So that's something that I'm really excited about. Dave Pakta is going to work with us with this, and it's shaping up to be something that could, I think, change our whole fellowship.
Yeah, that's great. Amen. I am just so excited because I love how comprehensive this program is. The evening messages are going to blow people away. Just emotional, passionate, a call to get up and do the work of God. Listening to people like Sean Wooten, who's coming off the mission field, and Kevin Miller. And it's going to be awesome. And then having classes to provide tools for where people are at. I mean, that's so powerful. How do I do this? How do I do that? And just giving people the information that they need to have an amazing year in the coming years. And then I think, like you said before, it's that fellowship. I mean, it is so personal. It is so encouraging. It is so bonding because you're not overwhelmed. I mean, we're talking, last year we had a couple hundred. We'll probably have 300 to 400 people or more this year. But I mean, you can really just develop some great relationships with people. And it's just, you just come away pumped up. You just go, okay, my vision has been restored. God has helped me to get stronger spiritually, come up with tools. And what do you think, Joel Pede?
And then we're making some strategic changes as well, because one of the things we just are as small church leaders is we're just tired. and so we've actually scheduled in some more rest and into our schedule, as well as great time to have fun in relationships.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So register, go to robskinner.com, look for the Climb tab. Again, want to urge you to register as soon as possible because it's going up to $150 April 15th. But until then, it's still $125. It's going to be amazing.
I think, too, we really want to encourage the small church leaders to stay through Sunday. I know it can be tempting. I got to get back. Let's find someone else to preach. Stay through Sunday. Having that Sunday worship services is powerful. It's a celebration. It's victory. It's beautiful. So just an appeal to do everything you can to not leave Saturday, stay through Saturday night into Sunday. It's really worth it.
Yeah, on that note, I think you can really do yourself a favor by coming to the whole conference and then having your church do your job for you on that Sunday. And then they come back and they're so grateful for everything that you do. And so you get the extra benefit if you stay through Sunday. You got this, brothers and sisters.
That's right. Joel and Joel, I love you guys so much. And I'm so thankful that God has brought us together to put this thing together, to work together on it. It was so much fun in Dallas, spending 48 hours together. I mean, no place I'd rather be. Just awesome, awesome time. I'll see you guys in Dallas.
Sounds great, Rob. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
If you're enjoying this podcast, I'd like to ask your help. First of all, hit the subscribe button. Secondly, read one of my books. Go to Amazon and read How to Plant and Grow a Church, or Courage, How to Make This Life Count. Finally, support the program financially by going to TucsonChurchofChrist.org and look for the Donate tab. Look for the general fund when you give, and your tax-deductible gift will help me plant 5 or more churches by the year 2030. Because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, to live a no regrets life, and to multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day and make this life count.